Well, Ashley isn't here, but I guess we can handle the roll call by ourselves. So I'll just say Thad Mayfield present.
Andrew Wells, present.
Yvonne Cosby, present.
Dave Marcus, present.
Christian Green. Bernard Knight for the Industrial Council.
Jessica Wagner, present.
So we do have a quorum. And
And the mayor's
So-
here.
yes,
Hey.
I'm sorry, yes, and the mayor is
Mayor
here.
is here.
I'm gonna sign in and everything. I'm gonna make it official.
All right.
So that you don't need the rest of that information from me.
That I sent your document to.
Bernie?
Okay. Well, before we have public comments, I guess it would be appropriate to congratulate the mayor on her reelection.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Sweeping
A
re-election.
sweeping reelection, absolutely. That's quite a vote of confidence by the citizens of Stonecrest.
We're working hard. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And if you'll give me just a few minutes at the top of your meeting, then I'll get out of your way. I have now I have a call and an engagement to get to in
All
the
right.
next 45 minutes.
Okay.
And I probably will not see you other than in a council meeting before the year is out. So I wanted to come and say what a great year we've had. This is a task that is not an easy one. Volunteering your time for your community is a sacrifice. So I wanted to say that I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the time you've given us. We have so much in store over the next year plus that I'm excited to be a part of. I'm excited for where we're going. I'm excited to see projects come off of paper and into construction. And it's certainly not without the volunteers on our committee that we're able to do all this work and stretch as far as we stretch. The 6 of us surely can't do it alone. So having the committees of folks to help do that brainstorming is valuable to us. So I wanted to say thank you. I also wanted to tell you that, as you can see, there's ice cream and brownies. Kind of as a thank you, congratulations. We've made it to the end of the year, another year under our belt. And we're just really, really excited about the next 4 and beyond. And economic development, as you know, is a critical role in our forward progress. So we are super, super excited to see things turn. Christian and I we're trying to literally have a call and end it, and we're gonna pick it back up in just a few minutes on another. I think it's gonna be a really big move for Stonecrest. So I'm excited. So I just wanted to tell you that. I wish I could stay with you tonight. I cannot. I've got to go deliver a $1.2 million check that we're excited to help our schools with.
Hey, I'm excited.
You don't need to
Excited about
too.
Make sure
I'm
it's
very
all the way
excited
there.
So I'm gonna hand deliver that
Yeah.
in a case with a lock and a key to make sure it gets to our students. So we're excited to be able to help them out in our 12 schools in the city. So we've got a lot of good things going on, and we're excited. And I just wanted to say thank you.
And thanks for
Thank you, Ms.
setting that precedent too. I mean, for others in the community with our schools. I think that is a huge, huge statement that hopefully others will follow.
Yeah, and it's just one. We plan on having a long-lasting relationship with the school system and trying to do what we can as a city, and not just kind of sit on the sidelines. But we know what kind of impact it has on economic development, but most importantly, what it has on the people who belong to our community.
Yeah,
So we want to do more and more as we can every year to not just sit back and point fingers, but to help the school system the best we can. So this is one step ahead of us. So.
Excellent.
Mayor, while you're here, one of our topics tonight is the report that we could or will give to you at the council. How do you see that? What would you think?
Well, like in the report?
Yeah.
Well, we don't have enough time for me to answer that.
Well, I mean, the types of topics. Or what are you thinking about?
Economic development. That's what I'm looking to see come from the report is what is the path forward? What is the model that we'll use to build economic?
We've been talking about crafting a report with our ideas and feelings.
Of your, yeah, so you mean your feedback and recommendations on the report itself. that what you're, what am I looking for from your recommendation?
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking for your honesty. I'm looking for your feedback. So that when the mayor and council get it, which will be after the staff gets it, that we can take all the feedback. And if we don't see what we want to see incorporated from the feedback into the plan, that we give those directions to Gia and Christian to go back to the consultant, to make sure that the things that we thought, the feedback, we didn't see anything tangible from, gets into the plan. That's what I'm looking for.
So you basically need to know what recommendations we've made that we're not seeing in the final plan. That,
No.
basically?
No, I don't think that's what I said.
Okay.
No, I didn't hear that.
No, because even if you think about the mayor and council, right, every single recommendation from all 6 of us won't make it to the plan either. So I'm certainly not looking for every, 120 different pieces of recommendations to have a tangible outcome in the report, right? So no, I would confidently say, no, that's not what I'm looking for. But there is feedback that everyone will give, and then that feedback collectively will craft what is to be the economic development plan, also with the industry experts and their impact to it as well.
Good.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just hanging on the back of your chair
Thank you.
like you belong to me.
Please,
Thank
please
you.
have a,
It's gonna melt by the time I,
very sure.
I might put it in the freezer.
Okay.
We want to go pick up my kids from school, so now I have to eat it before it
Take 2, yeah.
gets healing. 7 o'clock?
Your South River is the last article.
Oh,
So-
good. We, had a great conversation with Dr. Everett Park. And, we also reassured her, sorry, y'all, sidebar, that, our restoration project is still on target and still moving. Yeah, ethanol shows, and, we're making us about getting it done. And reopen, yeah, with the kayak launch and outtake.
I just saw 25.
Did you? Good. George got about 3 of them himself. So yeah, we're excited about it. So anyway, good stuff. Thank y'all.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And if I don't see you at council meeting or in Stonecrest, great holidays. And, see you next year. Have a good day.
All right. And now, public comments.
Approval of the agenda.
I'm sorry. I thought that would come after public comments. Huh? Agenda.
Well, I take it back.
So we've got 2 guests here. If you could give us your name and anything you'd like to say, we can extend it to 45 seconds since there are only 2 of you today. I say that a little bit tongue in cheek, but if you would just tell us who you are and what input you'd like to have regarding this economic development process you're witnessing. Okay. Yeah, I can't imagine.
Normally you communicate, I think in this instance, or you communicate
To
whoever it
right.
was that was representing.
that you're in.
If you're in, I don't. If you're not, you can definitely email me.
It's 5 Councilwoman Grimes.
5 of them. Mhm.
So then she should. Or would it go, yeah,
Well, we
no,
represent, I mean, we are
Who's
there.
one of you,
yeah.
who's the one that represents?
so then that would be good.
Right. Right. Okay,
Thank you for being here.
well, thank you for being here.
Can you repeat your name again? I'm sorry.
Sarah. Yeah. Sarah is a regular when it comes to beautification and keeping the neighborhood clean.
I just didn't want to get your name right.
Okay, so we have our agenda before us, and the approval of the agenda is the first item. Item B, approval of an October 10th meeting minutes. Brief update to the next version of economic development plan, Christian Green. Brief update on the city economic development actions on news, Christian Green, and discussion of our future report to city council regarding content, that should be city council and mayor, regarding contents and format, 5 action taken, and then adjournment. So can I get a motion to approve this agenda?
So moved.
There's a second?
Second.
Been moved and properly second to accept our agenda. All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Having none, the agenda is approved. So, any comments or summary statements regarding the October 10th meeting minutes before we make a motion to, okay? So, can I get a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we approve our October 10th minutes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. None opposed. Those meeting minutes are approved. And now, Mr. Green.
Yes, sir.
Can you provide us with an update on the next version of the economic development plan?
Sure, so the plan for the spreadsheet. Yeah. These- One of these, obviously.
Right.
Modifications, recommendation, fall into the board. Action. You to get that. These, you have plan. So there's the work plan.
Hmm.
Action. That is based on. Council.
Will you be making that draft of the report available
To the public,
to-
yeah. Yeah, I think that there's already, I know that there's pieces of it that have already online anyway. It's not a private,
Right.
so anybody who wants to have it, see it, at that point, we'll put it up.
Yeah.
Could I suggest putting it on the city website and doing a press release that it's there? How excited we are that it's moving along, blah, blah, blah. Just so there's some proactive transparency and people can.
So, and if you actually, so what I plan to do is also probably post it on, with a link, will probably be on that. Currently working on revising the economic development page and then building out growstonecrest.com. The web team, actually earlier this week about what that wireframe looks like. Tourism is a part of that learning, so, and understand that while the consultant in this piece is specific to what they covered, we have to look at the bike path component, we have to look at the transportation plan and all of that, be able to look out ahead and say, this is what we're looking at. So that's going on. As far as, I think the next piece is the economic development.
Yeah, it basically is an update on what the city's economic development action or news would be.
Yeah, so news, gone ahead and taken a look at the existing budget that was left from the year coming in, on September. The good sum of it is already allocated and or spent. Taking a look at what's left, reallocating it to appropriate places. As like I've already said, I bought the .com, so that piece, we got that. And then, running, there's a group called Applied Economics. It's the CEO is Sarah Murley. She does economic impact studies, and she has a program that you can use that most economic developers use to run economic impacts on a 1, 3, 5-year basis. So move forward with getting approval to purchase that, and then from the standpoint of CRM, customer client relationship management tool, putting in Microsoft Dynamics CRM with an economic development component to it, which will allow us to accurately and in real time track, monitor, and be able to create reports that generate where we're at as far as how many projects we're working on, how many BREs that we did that year, from a standpoint of transparency.
Sorry,
And-
what's the
Was that? Business retention and expansion. So one of the big things is to meet with the top 100 companies in Stonecrest, which actually is currently doing, and then have those BRE visits so that we can gain valuable insight as to where we're at, what we're doing, and what our major employers need or want, so that we can create programs to help service them so that they're successful. So if our businesses that are currently in Stonecrest are successful and they feel like they're feeling the love from the city and specifically economic development, and we're creating that value and that vision with them, then they'll become a bigger part of the framework that is.
What's your metric to be in the top 100?
The top 100 is number of employees is one, and average wage. So there's kind of a balance between the two, honestly.
Really
And typically-
So what were you thinking when you asked that question?
Because it's
Well,
hard.
we haven't
yeah.
been contacted,
Right.
and I dare say we probably pay top 10 taxes in the
Right.
city of Stonecrest.
We just started this.
Yeah. No.
literally
That's why I'm just wondering, like, what the metrics is to get
To
there. Not
hit that.
Yeah, but I do think probably companies such as ours who may not employ hundreds of
Right,
employees,
right.
that still have a major impact
Right.
on the city of Stonecrest. I think our input would be, you might just find it interesting.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, right. I can say that now. You said, I'm not the grand poobah of awesome. It's not, so you're gonna look out and say, this is where we're at, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so basically, the plan is to do a minimum of 2 business retention expansion visits a week. That equals up to 100, basically, in a year. What comes from that is actual follow through and then building a program. So it never gets any easier than what it is right now.
Right.
And then, basically all through the year, you're working with coordinating and creating program to address their needs.
Yeah.
So currently right now, the big push, like I said, we're 2 weeks into it, because honestly, the community honestly, economic development had no pitch deck.
Right.
Which blew my mind, no maps, which is basically crazy.
Well, this is the first one. I mean, I give them some slack
Been
because of
around
that.
for 5 years.
I know, but I mean the
And,
plan. I mean the
Never
plan.
had the money to properly do that.
list.
Right, right.
And honestly, 2 weeks ago was when.
Yeah.
We got the list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we've been
So-
begging.
I would
From
more
here.
say we never prioritized it regardless. of
Well,
price,
people in the community did, but I did want to add something.
Absolutely, because I was,
Yeah, the community, there were people in the community who were talking to economic development and previous administration to try to put some priority on it. But I guess the couple of things that came up as you were talking both about posting the plan and the input from major industries, I guess the input for this conversation, not necessarily in a plan, would be that because the mayor and council, I'm sorry, the council may not have approved the plans when you post it for the public. I think it's probably good to put a disclaimer because a lot of expectations happen sometimes when you make a post. There is an expectation that this is the Bible.
But
And so by making sure that the public understands that pending approval and
Right.
pending prioritization by the council will probably be a good note to add to that. And I think, one of the things I think that will segue into the next section that we're talking about, which Jeff is basically raising, which is why I think it's important that, that we have that sort of consolidated, prioritized major input that we want to raise up on the council radar are the kinds of things that maybe not necessarily specific to the point that Jeff has made, but that if there are economic interests that are represented both in this room or things that we've heard from major employers, we want to make sure that this is an opportunity with this report to place that high on the list for council to think about.
Right.
Because ultimately they will be funding whatever it is that the Economic Development Department does. And by giving them, that doesn't mean that they will make it their priority, but at least by giving them that priority, that set of priorities from the committee, it does raise the profile of our input into this process to make sure that what we think based on the input and the background that we bring into this process, that it's high on their radar.
Well, and because you're, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're more on the development side, correct?
So we operate 1,500 we own and operate 1,500 apartment units within a mile of where we're sitting.
Right.
And we own several hundred more acres.
Right.
Which can have a
I understand that.
huge impact on the economic
Right.
future of
And
this.
there's a top 100 commercial development, or not top 100, top 10. Generating. Well, it's a full deck with one very inexperienced coordination
Right, right.
and everything, and getting and training and taking the time to make sure that she's getting the appropriate attention from me to get trained up and to focus on, you can sit there and say, well, go do BRE. But if you don't have
And the people.
any
Yeah.
frame set to sit there and do that, I've been meeting with the hotels, honest to God. When you talk about development and things like that, my focus honestly has been on meeting with the hotels, meeting with some of the businesses around the mall, of course, Freddie, and other key people in the film music entertainment industry. At least 2-3 times a week, about the industrial, piece as well as, from the standpoint of tourism, and things like that, and being actively involved in the building out the recruitment tools that we don't have.
Right.
Honest to God, if you don't have anything that you can share that you can do with people, to sit there and to recruit them, and then you don't have the data either.
Right.
So, part of this also, as far as the tools are concerned, is getting a tool called Placer AI, which allows you to sit there and run all kinds of data points all over the city. So it tracks crime too.
Yeah.
But it tracks all these different components to be able to see, what's happening.
Right.
And then, looking out and master planning out kind of what that future looks like in certain areas, mapping that, kind of creating that kind of tool
Right.
as well. So there's a lot going on.
Right.
Like I said, we're literally on two, literally as of Monday,
Right.
and everything. So it's been a lot, but it's been good.
Mm.
You know, very exciting time and meeting with and then finding, you know, those avenues, areas to sit there and create those opportunities.
Yeah.
It's we said I'm probably a month from final approvals and getting everything paid for so that we can start using these tools. It's going to be a solid 6 months
Mm.
before I get them all implemented
Right.
and built out so that we can start using them appropriately and the ways that we want.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
an exciting time.
Right,
You know, a
right.
year from now, we'll look back and go, remember when
Right.
that was, you know, that was going on and things like that. So it's a good time.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Christian, I'm a little surprised that you're not meeting with the, say, top 10 candidates for the RE.
Top 10 candidates for BRE. I haven't not met with anybody. So she's setting up the meetings currently, but every single BRE visit that has happened, had so far, I've been in. So from the standpoint of, you know, getting in front of the healthcare community, but also, like I said, for me, once, you know, I learned about the crime that was going on, where it was at, it was really important for me to be able to sit there and say, okay, what's happening? And then also from so that you understand this piece too, we have and Bernie of all people, but probably Jeff, I know him more than anybody. There's one part, the jobs and the employment and things like that, but there are some serious setbacks that have happened from a planning and development component for the city as a result of leaving certain components under the Cab County. But it's expensive to sit there and to say that, you know, it is a, you know, we talk about crime. Well, it's a crime to have a 45-minute response time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a crime that the city pays for that. You know, and so from that perspective, you know, and then from the fact that, you know, our hotels are religiously hit every single morning between 4 and 6 a.m. And the cars are broken into. They know that. They're trying to do everything that they can to get free breakfast to the Cab County Police to please come and pay attention a little more, you know, to the area. But, you know, it's a known fact that it's during that time. So we're looking at other alternatives to handling that crime as well, but also getting that, prioritizing that, telling that, being able to then say, listen, you're a vital part of this community and we need to take care of it. There's other tourists come in here and they can't stay,
Right.
and they can't stay and they can't have their cars in their possession to be safe. Then what kind of message does that send? And then what kind of message does that send to the business community that comes, everything that wants to stay here? You know, when they're representing Pepsi or Home Depot, you know, are told, you know, maybe you should say something.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, sitting there and making sure that we're addressing those needs, and also from a standpoint of, you know, in order to get temporary CFO, you've got to sit there and have fire marshal approval from the Cab County. You know how long it takes to do that? 2 months. You know how long it takes in another city? 15 minutes.
Yeah.
DeKalb County's working on their system last I checked, but it is the system that they use for their fire approvals. It is nightmare. And, yeah, so they're working on
How long has the Cab County been around?
it long enough to have
How
worked
long
on
has
it.
Stonecrest been around?
Right.
Why
Oh,
do
it's
I have to deal with your problem?
It's a pain.
And that's something that, you know, honest to God, from my perspective, I'm not used to dealing with that. Like
Yeah.
when I was like sitting there and they said business licenses was a major issue. I was like, "Ooh, what? That's a 15
How
minute.
can that be a problem in 2023?
Right.
With the systems we have?
Right. There's no reason, and to sit there and go 2 months before getting an approval is absolutely ridiculous in terms. And, you know, so from that perspective, it's sitting there and meeting with Patrick, you know, and meeting with, well, at the beginning, Ray and of course, Matthew and planning and things, and sitting there saying, okay, what processes do we need to put in place? And how do we accomplish the goal and make it easier to get development to happen in the city? tell you, if you wanted to do, real economic development, then you've got to get crime down.
Yeah.
And you've got to make it easier, just there and get boots on the ground, people working and building.
Absolutely.
And
And
if you don't do that.
Yeah.
All this is throw waste.
And that was one of the things that earlier in the year, the mayor talked about with the new administration is making sure that the city has the infrastructure to do those things, to get the data, to know what to do, and to get the systems in place to, to be able to act. And that was a 5-year, really a 4-year, certainly a 4-year waste of time that the previous administration and all of its
Glory.
well, not just Glory, although the consulting support that they had at the time just did not do. And if you're going to be effective both in dealing with crime, which is a quality of life issue, as well as an economic development issue, you got to have those systems in place, and you got to have the data.
Yeah, speaking to that, DeKalb County has a Stonecrest liaison that is supposed to be our avenue to discuss matters of crime, whether it's surveillance, prevention, resources, and tools. Has anyone started to engage that person to at least get an assessment of what we're supposed to get based on what we're paying for? Like, I would like to understand, I want to push and do all that, but I want to understand, like, what do I have? I give you blank $1 million. How many officers, how often should I expect to see them? Is it alternatives to surveillance? Is it drones? What, like, I'd like to know
So
what our money
intergovernmental
equates to.
agreement between the city of Stonecrest and DeKalb County, and basically that negotiation was put off till the election, which has happened. So I believe that Gia and Mayor Pablo are starting to actively have negotiations over that current IGA that I know that there's of course future plan for police force at some point. I am pushing hard for a fire marshal to get forward. Part of that is
Andrew, there's also
without a
a,
fire marshal, you can't get temps to you.
there's a position being
Temporary
funded
CFO.
for 2024 that is the liaison from our side to DeKalb Public Safety, as well as putting together plans for transition and potentially renegotiating the ICA and holding the heat to the fire, by the way.
Yeah, I did notice that in the budget, and since I know there's a such thing as allocated and drawn down and acted upon, I wanted to see how close we were to acting upon those things.
That's in the
That
24,
is,
it's in the 24 budget.
yeah, but well, still, I mean, again, timeline, like when are we going to deal with it, right? That means we got the whole year to put them. Like, I want to know, like, for real, when are we going to start?
What's been interesting to me, and and I'll say this, I have never seen a community advocate for budget for more code. That was, and then to actively sit there and as you did, ask for more money towards economic development. I was like, well, I am in a different universe because that doesn't happen. So it says a lot about the community, about its commitment to what it wants to be, where it wants to go. And the fact that you voiced your opinion, and you stated where it should be, and it's in these certain areas that are key, honestly. So I was like, wow, so it's quite refreshing, to sit there and have that, and then to be able to sit, at the table with all of you and everybody that's here, sit there and have these discussions and know that you've got the backing to sit there and make that happen.
Okay.
We're not in a bad place. We're just, like I said, 5 years from now, we'll look back at that. Remember when we had no fire marshal, and crime was X or Y or Z, so I'm excited, and I'm excited to get this plan. I can't sit there and create the work plan without the actual plan. I know what, where it's at. I know where I think it should end up in the end, but, and then filling in the gaps after.
All right, we've got about 45 minutes left to talk about this final report that we'll be preparing. So I just want to kind of open up the discussion around that. Thank you for the update,
Great report.
Christian. Absolutely. Good input.
How many days now on the ground for you? Director?
2 months.
2 months.
Exactly. September 11th was my first day.
Wow.
I debated on whether or not I wanted to sit there and make that my first day. But,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I didn't wait.
Yeah.
Two days,
A little different than Arizona?
way different than
Yeah.
Arizona,
Very
but
different.
it's been great. I sat there, as a father and a husband. Sat there. My wife. Oh, come on, I'm in trouble now. Here it comes. He was like, it feels like home. He loves this, it's great. Like I said, for me to sit there,
Mhm.
do I like, 5 comments on 1 page of 73, of a strategic plan? Not my most, my happiest thing is I'm like, I wish that everybody was happy.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's like, they're smart, they're intelligent comments, they are insightful, they gives me, insight into, the why and the what, and where it's going, what's happened, what hasn't happened, because you can read things. Everybody can use their Google machine and things like that, but to get the ideas, the why behind it, or at least part of, and then seeing the history and being a part of that. And for me, I came here because it's the ultimate job. It's a startup city.
Yeah.
To me, that was sexy as hell.
Yeah.
I was just like, I want in on that,
All right.
because you get to sit there, but at the same time, I'll be honest, there's been moments where it's like, hey, you gotta remember, you brought you in to fix and to put processes in place. So don't complain when the process is not there. And from a standpoint, and I understand from the community standpoint that, it can be frustrating. But you're a baby.
Yeah.
We were 5 years old. We just learned how to walk.
Right.
So to get to the point where we're running, we got a little ways to go, but we'll get there.
Okay.
Welcome to the new South.
I love it.
Shelby, do you have anything before we go into this next session, to comment on?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
Listen, y'all, but just so you know, the audio is going in and out on your Stonecrest side. But
It's
I'm
just
giving.
me, Shelby.
We met with Christian a few weeks ago as a team over here at Decide to Cab. So we're clued in and support him and Ashley with their vision for the city. So we're good.
Okay. All right.
Christian, have you had any reactions from Lynn about the, anything about the comments that were there?
My discussion with her was there's a lot of comment. There's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And for me, my perspective is, okay, she's the expert. I wasn't here for the past. And so for me, I'm like, okay, then you were here for this, you're hired to do this, here's a professional. Here are the comments, here's the survey. Take this under advisement, please look at this. I want your professional, review of this and incorporate the changes. And I did tell her there's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of recommendations. The pieces. They're viable. There's do that, can only make it better. You know, and then from that perspective, like I said, I wouldn't get too worked up. You know, make your report, make your recommendation. You know, and understand that there's an entire work plan that gets built off of this. No different than with the film, music, and entertainment.
Right.
It's, you know, there's a whole piece with timelines, metrics, and accountability things along with that. So,
And dollars to support getting it done. So,
What was
yeah.
the price that the city will pay for this deliverable?
for Lynn, I have to look back. I'm guessing it's 100,000.
It's probably somewhere around there, yeah.
Which is
Which
kind
is,
of
which
low.
is, which is minimal.
Yeah, it is. It's
That's,
low.
that's not a lot for
Right,
that
it's
kind of
low.
development plan.
Right.
So that's pretty, like I'm used to about $250,000.
And I think probably, you know, this is just editorializing, I guess, before we get into the section. You know, this is a new city. They didn't, you know, I don't know what the advanced team in terms of putting the RFP looked like in terms of their background, their skill sets. I do know that the young man that was here, I can't think of his name, who was a contractor, who was on here on contract, actually set up the process for the RFP. He was gone. No, before William.
Jonathan Bartlett.
Jonathan, yes. Now, I mean, he sounded pretty sharp to me. I mean,
I like
just,
Jonathan.
yeah,
Jonathan was a
Right,
killer,
right.
you know?
but
Yeah, I think
afterwards,
I think it would be hard for you to look countrywide
what?
and find someone more experienced.
Exactly.
than
He was
Jonathan.
sharp.
Yeah, he was.
But he was gone by the time the review of the RFPs came.
He wrote it, but he was coming here to select.
Right, that's
That
what I'm
is
saying. And so,
correct.
the choice of selection and what the expectations were and all those kinds of things. I don't know how much expertise was in the city to actually give a robust effort around that. Or for council to figure out whether or not it needed to be 100,000 or $250,000. And so because of that, I'm saying, okay, this is the first step. So we'll get there.
Well, there was a bid and there was a fair process before Jonathan left. So those that were shortlisted, they were shortlisted.
No, I get
That's-
that.
That's indifferent of Jonathan and William and this
Whoever.
gentleman. So I don't have reason to believe the process was not adequate. 'Cause I was here during that time.
Okay,
I saw the RFP
okay,
and it was sufficient to request a document that he's about to pay.
okay.
So I don't want to be a part of a, you know, going on record saying, not sure they knew what they were doing.
No, well, okay, I wasn't saying that they didn't know what they were doing. I was comparing the quality of expertise that was here with the first ED director and what may have transpired during the transition in that process. So that's what I.
Who was the first? Clarence Boone.
Right.
Well, no, yeah, but I mean, but there was
After
no,
Clarence.
yeah, but I'm talking about we just mentioned his name, the one who set up this, Jonathan, right,
Yeah.
Jonathan, actually set
The
up,
council approved that RFP.
right, they did,
If I-
And,
if I
yeah,
may,
yeah.
Arguing the past is
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
So I was
that,
just curious, because
yeah.
I remember we participated as an organization a lot with Mr. Bartlett before there was this committee.
Yeah.
So
I even
I
recall,
saw the
yeah.
tenets of the request for proposal.
Yeah.
I've written many.
Yep.
And so it was robust. It was sufficient to get you a deliverable.
and I think that from what I can see, I think that the consultant is able to do a good job. I think that they have the professional experience to accomplish the goal. The money and the funding, I honestly don't care.
Right.
It is what it is. It's in the past. I 100%.
The money is
In the
what
past,
they
can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I think that I know, you know, Jonathan and, you know, and so from that perspective, you know, I have a huge amount of respect for him and his abilities. And so I think that it got off on the right foot, wherever it ended up. You know, where we're at right now is what we have.
Yeah.
I think that it's a good product. I think that, you know, I don't want to do the hood, what is it? And to be quite honest, I think it's a good plan. Good start.
It's a good start, yeah.
And to we gotta, you know, get a kid get to the nitty gritty.
What are we kind of talking about here?
This is
We're transitioning into the content and format, so this is just kind of chatting.
Chatting.
Yeah. All right, so now let's talk about this final report to council, content and format. I know, obviously, everybody saw the emails that were kind of going back and forth around that. And I did send out a template just as a straw man, not really a template, I would say a straw man to look at the report, of give us something to at least look at in terms of what do we want to change or what should be here, what's missing, how do we want to format it given this. I can tell you from, just sort of creating the straw man, the intent was to sort of summarize our activities, some of the challenges that we had, particularly in terms of getting quorum, and in terms of, because our input was supposed to be to basically get some business input into the process on the front end of this. And that process did not happen as well as we would like it to have been. And so I wouldn't say that we didn't get the job done. It's just that we didn't get it done the way that it was initially anticipated. And so coming back from not being able to get quorums to get direct input from businesses, as an example, it appears to me and others may have different opinions of this, that we took the information that we know from the business community as we interface with them, along with the business minds that are at this table, and then basically came up with an approach to provide both the input to economic development as well as an approach to give the council its final report for the resolution that they set. So that was sort of the context for what I was thinking about in terms of putting the template together. But it is not sacred to me. So it's just a straw man to say, okay, what do we put in this report, and how do we shape it? So
The way I had seen it in my head was really a letter, if you like, to the council and mayor saying, this is what we did. We now have a plan. We congratulate the consultants on giving us a viable plan. Here are some major things, just a few of them that we disagree with, and here are some major things that we'd like to be changed a little bit in sort of a bulleted paragraph form, without going very deep on it, but just saying, here are the areas that we think there should be some either reduction or expansion.
Yeah, I'm encouraged along those lines, especially when I heard the mayor come in here and say that, and I know she didn't speak for the entire council, but she said, we will look at your report, we will look at your feedback. And if we think, correct me if I'm wrong, if I misheard her, she said, if we think we need to have that incorporated into the final plan, that we will do that. And that's the person who's paying the check, as opposed to those of us who. Right. So our summary of what we did will accompany what we actually did, which is the survey, the 73 slide review, and those different things like that. So they'll be able to digest that, and they intend to digest that before making a decision on the final plan. So with all of that in mind, I like the idea of a letter for that reason. If for some reason we thought there was a gap between when they would, or there would be a missed opportunity, but it sounds like and feels like there's not going to be a missed opportunity before that plan is approved by council and mayor. So I'm encouraged to go the letter route for that reason. They'll see the other stuff we've done in my thought.
Yeah. And
my hope anyway.
I wonder whether it's really might not be a little bit too soon to even be thinking in these terms. By the way, I do favor the letter format, but what I'd like to is to wait and see what Lynn Patterson and her people do with the comments that we've provided.
Agreed.
And get that and have that hopefully a somewhat revised draft, more or less revised draft, various particulars come back to us. And then we can react to that to the extent that we feel is necessary in the letter that we'll write. Correct me if you all think that I'm wrong about the timing of this.
No.
But I really want to give as much deference as council with a mass of material and comments from us. If it's not, unless it's out, we feel it's absolutely salient, important to do that. So that's the way I feel. I think the letter approach is the way to go, and I think we ought to really hold off on the letter until we get the whatever revision Lynn is going to generate.
Bernie, I absolutely agree with that. And I think in a good world, we're gonna have 2, 3, 4 points that we're gonna make of agreement, disagreement. From what it sounds like, Lynn has received marching orders to consider these. And Christian has said, they seem pretty reasonable to me mostly. So I think we're gonna see a lot of change in the next report, but that's the only thing we should be reacting to. We should not react to the initial draft.
Right.
We can pat ourselves on the back and have that 73, 120, whatever it was, as an attachment,
I don't,
just
yeah.
so they see that we did
I mean,
some work.
they already have that.
Well, but that will be attached.
No, I'm saying
as
the,
an
yeah,
appendix
It'll be,
to-
yeah,
It's
yeah,
in the
we-
appendixes of the draft.
Yeah, so
It's al-
that's already.
right, that's already done.
yeah, that's why I'm saying, that's the
Okay.
reason the letter can say less, in my opinion.
Yeah, the more the letter says, the less effective it will be.
Unless it will be read.
Agree.
But you don't need to give the reason why the committee was formed or
No.
any of that. And, you know, like I said, I'm, you know, in the, you know, the disc world, I'm a high D, high I, hit me with the facts right at the front.
Mhm.
You know, get to the point and stick a fork in it.
Mhm.
You know, and the dissertation on the meaning of life, that's what this whole plan is anyway. So, you know, it's very long, you know, and it has, you know, it's very long and short at the same time. It's a lot of slides.
Mhm.
So I think that from that standpoint, it would behoove everyone to, and it would benefit me, to be quite honest. You know, to make sure that the most important pieces that you see that may not have been added, updated, or modified, that, you know, that you feel is really important, that should be in there. And then know from, you know, from that standpoint, you know, and I'm glad that she incorporated the, you know, the quarterly meetings with the business community in that, because I have think tanks. And so, you know, I don't think you're all getting out of it just because the plan is done. It's, you know, it's sitting there and meeting, you know, if not every quarter, every month, and having those discussions. I don't require, you know, that you had discussed. I don't require a quorum to meet with the business community and have a meaningful dialogue that helps to strengthen our economic development, you know, acumen and move forward. You know, and then in January, so you're aware, there's a document coming out called Talking Points. In that there will be the quarterly update as far as major things that have happened and where we're at on plan and facts and just different things like that. And what's going to happen over time is we'll build out all those different components that we don't currently have, but we can point to. And the point of that is so you have everything that we've done and you can see, you know, because you spend a lot of your time to put this together, you know, so you need to see that something's happened.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to sit on it. So there will be then that strategic action plan that comes out of that work plan is based off of your comment. So just remember that the consultant has their marching order, and I hope and expect that the committee sits there and it really gives me, you know, the most succinct, but get it there, you know, and communicate it effectively so that, you know, we know where we can go, what we do, and build that into the work plan as well.
And as I see it, the gaps between what we recommended and what they do, we apply the 80-20 rule to it and say 80% of them, hey, it's not that important. 20% we emphasize to them.
Well, and I think, I don't want to use the word money, but a substantial portion of the comments that were originally made were made to a draft that had not been proofed. And that was something that Lynn made very, very, very clear. So, yeah. And so we felt a need to respond to some of them, of course. It was our obligation to, but much of that is, we should see it fleshed out anyway.
Yeah.
So those, I mean, I would, yeah, I was gonna say, I'm optimistic that a lot of that is check, 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 it's done.
And
Yeah.
there's stuff like, I commented on the order in which the different population segments by race. were
Right.
listed. If they don't change that,
The information was there.
yeah. It's just, there's a lot of trivia, there's some meat. What's a fair amount of meat, what we commented.
Context is. significant.
Yeah,
And
but
I think
again,
some
I
of it's
think,
comments, especially-
we're gonna
Oh,
see a lot of
man,
it taken account in the next version. And that's the version we respond to.
I think your comments were awesome.
You're right, you're absolutely right.
All right.
I was like, please, take a listen, look at this, I think that you should, it only behooves you. We're, for Lynn, she's dropping in, she's got a snapshot
Right.
of the community. And, but y'all live it. And so it's, your feedback, your input, it's learning new things every single day, and for me, it's exciting, having those conversations, learning your Dave, and everybody else, sitting there and being able to sit there and look out ahead and see what can be and what will be eventually is exciting. So, I just think there's a lot of emotion that went into those comments. You can see it, very raw. But, it was like, damn, back on that. It's kind of like, everybody's nice to get on the road.
Yeah,
But,
sure.
I think that, I think see and feel it, but I think that, I like the letter idea, but again, decide what you want.
Well, most of the comments are saying letter, so I think that sounds like, I take two comments away from the session we had. That the report is in letter form, and that any bullets or priorities that we want to include in that letter, we want to wait until we get the final report to review. That's what I mean.
Do we need to take action on that? Is there do we need to do a motion or anything like that? No. Okay.
Oh, I think the motion actually
Final
comes when we
sign.
get the final report, and
We said early December.
December.
Yeah.
So when's our December meeting?
it's on the 12th, I think.
Boy, if she could get it to us the week before then.
Okay.
So, should we assume? No, rephrase that. I think we should schedule a January meeting for the same, whatever Tuesday it is.
I think we should have a December and wait and have a January. I'm not a fan of rushing consultants, and it's his deliverable.
Yeah,
He's been here
I'm
60 days.
yeah, I'm kind of in that
So
space too,
let
but
the director of
yeah.
economic development receive the deliverable, process the deliverable,
Yeah.
answer to his bosses.
Can we even have a January meeting without the city council?
Oh,
or
yeah,
staff
right.
or the
We
committee?
expired
yeah, we expect,
12/31.
yeah,
Yes.
and they can, yeah, that's the decision.
But
that
I
they make.
think we should ignore that expiration and just.
Well, I don't think we ignore it.
I don't
It's a
think-
law.
Well, I'm over alone.
I mean, I'm not interested in ignoring it. I mean, I think our assignment has been done. I mean, if the mayor reconvenes us.
Yeah.
Can we, I would, if you're okay, I would suggest leaving the meeting
Mhm.
for December.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
I'll do
I
my
can-
best to
I can
get the final, to y'all
Yeah.
to look at. And then, that way you've had a chance to at least look at it. I mean, y'all turned the comments around in a couple days, so.
Yeah.
It was a quick turnaround,
Yeah.
so I have no doubt that, and I'm not asking you to turn around, but, to to digest your thoughts at that moment.
Right.
So that, you know, the final, plan, comments, report from the committee, you guys can hash that out after that, before that meeting and after at least have a, you know, a consensus at that, you know, format and what that looks like so that the deliverable, to, council is good to go, because what I'm hoping to do is to bring it, forward, in work session in January.
Mhm.
And then, do whatever comments, modifications need to happen from that, so that it can be adopted.
When is the January work session? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Second, no,
The
the
second week is
the
January.
meeting is first,
Yeah, work plan.
so it would be the 4th. It's the second Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
The
is the
the
eighth.
4th is the work session. But they're gonna be looking at it as a work session, not as a meeting.
Yeah, is that right?
So the
Right,
fourth
not at the
would be the
Right.
22nd of January. Christian, do you think it is too much to ask the consultant? I'm just wondering how to facilitate a quicker turnaround for this committee.
Mhm.
Is it too much to ask the consultant to somehow comment to what this committee provided?
Mhm.
To each of those addressed sections, whatever, or incorporated, or something of that nature, because otherwise, I think all of us are gonna have to sit and read through this plan again in full in its totality, which we will,
Mhm.
but it would be much easier to see kind of at first glance.
Mhm.
I don't know if the rest of this committee feels that
I
way
was
or
wondering
not.
about that too.
Is
Do
there
you
some
mean
way to
like
get
adopted, not adopted?
something to that effect, however they could notate?
What's more than, but I think that the problem with that is it's more than just one person. So I think if they have to get together, a group meeting, and they have to, I'm sure that they're breaking it out and writing their pieces and things like that to adjust.
But if Lynn is managing the whole process, she might be going through, she might have done that already with their assistant.
How about I ask if they can deliver it by end of November?
Well, and I
If you
guess,
get it earlier, we'll see.
right, and I guess we could just send a letter to council as well
Because if
to
you're
extend
asking,
this to,
what I'm worried about
March.
is did you accept this?
right,
Is so they're saying, okay, well, they may not have addressed it in the whole, but then you're literally asking them to
Yeah.
sit there.
go by one. by one.
There's a lot of, there's 73 pages, there
Yeah.
was, what, maybe 8 slides out of all that that didn't have a comment to it,
Yeah.
so I would hate that they're gonna be responding
Yeah.
to everything. It's gonna suck up all their time. They're probably not gonna like it.
What if we ask them for a non-proofread version where the
Ah.
content is final,
I wanna-
content is final?
I want a final version
Yeah.
from them,
Yeah.
adopted by
I think
them,
so.
based on your comments.
Right.
You have a whole lot.
Yeah, and I think it might be better, you know, in terms of trying to come up with a contingency to ask the council for another 3 months. That way, if the timing doesn't work, we'll have time to respond to it in terms of the existence of the committee.
If we get it at the end of November,
You'll have it. There's no reason to sit there, from my perspective, to extend the committee at a month's. Fully intend.
so if we get it end of November, we actually, yeah, we might have a meeting the second Tuesday, but we actually have until end of December
Yeah.
to get it
Get the
done.
letter, yeah.
And remember, your report, however you submit it to council, it goes in the appendix of the
Regardless.
plan. So it's not that I'm saying, by December 11th, you gotta have your final report. Final report by January 10th or whatever that work session is, so that it's in there. So that then we can have that dialogue back and forth in that discussion.
Okay.
Because that makes, it gives you, basically over a month, to sit there and kind of craft the report, get everything
Well, realistically, with holidays. We have to look at, yeah,
I'm a pagan, no holiday.
I'm with you, but
I know, the rest of the world is so pesky.
but I'm just trying to be realistic.
Whether you celebrate or not, people want to come see you and you want to go see.
The world shuts down,
Yeah.
let's be honest. The last 2 weeks of December.
Let's do
So,
it.
I mean,
You know, we
We try,
have done
right?
a pretty good job of redefining our, well, not redefining our charter, but we've acted in the best interest of you, folks, and the department and the city by going very off topic from what strictly we are supposed to do, which I think is absolutely fine. What do you see us doing next year? Anything?
Well, from my perspective, anything, I don't need economic development plans for any committee. What I do need is, I don't need quorum. Citizens sit there and have discussions with business owners, you know, and you have that valuable input, sit there and say, okay, this is what's going on, and this is how we're gonna handle it. If it's monthly, quarterly, weekly, I don't care. But I need this. This is, this is the time where I get, the history lesson, the reason, the why, how, and economic development is a team sport. This is not something that we do by ourselves. It's about sitting and working together with everybody, like I said, citizens, academy, and my goal is to make everybody the economic development. Not myself. So, from that perspective, this committee continues, it's just not the same. format.
Slightly different name and
Well, right, it just wouldn't be right now it's a legal entity by virtue of the resolution. Then it would be basically an ad hoc support
Or
for.
it could morph into the comprehensive plan. It does.
There was something else now that we're kind of talking about possibly what we might. With regard to work plan, Jeff, it was you. I'm putting you on the spot. I hope you remember because I don't. But you made mention of a study that you thought might help support this work, but I forgot the name of it. Do you?
I referred to it as a housing study, which I believe
Yes.
someone had commented back, and I have no clue who,
it's a recommendation of the plan.
that, yes, that someone, I don't even remember.
I don't remember
what it
that
was.
part
Yeah.
either, but I do remember that came up. Is that something that could be a part of the work plan? That
Everything that's in that strategic plan
Yeah.
is part of it.
Okay.
What
there's
was
not
the
a-
reference to that this office and team be informed by the housing study? They should know about it.
Well, I think economic
Yeah.
development as a whole is informed by a housing study.
You find out regardless because it's a company. So the deal is that every strategic initiative that's a part of the plan that gets adopted, it's updated quarterly. So you see that, and then from that perspective, I will push out and promote the community meeting, business meeting, you sit there and focus in on, I'll be honest, we've got a lot of representation on the industrial side, development side, tourism, I'll see anybody in healthcare.
And tourism?
And so from my perspective, there's an entire business community that isn't represented.
Right. There are major sections of
Yeah.
the business community that's not. And on that point, though, I was wondering, when you say the industrial sector, does that include both warehousing and light manufacturing?
Oh, and much
And
more.
heavy.
Okay.
Much more. Includes,
But it's not like.
includes quarry, includes recycling, includes
That's like
concrete
manufacturing. Yeah.
logistics other than warehouse.
Well, yeah, I meant
Truck
logistics. I
repair.
didn't mean warehousing. I meant logistics. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a great deal that goes into it, but say it again, recreational tourism is also an industry segment.
Right.
And not just in what most of us would think of as the pastoral bucolic areas around Baldwin's Farm,
Right.
but up in the industrial area too, which is actually part of the National Heritage Area per the Act of Congress, 2006.
Should I remember?
I tourism, chiefly, Big Ledge Quarry
Mhm.
and the rim trail there, that which is, that those of us who have seen it already, it's just a dramatic thing.
Yeah.
And we want to take
Takes your
advantage of
breath
that.
away.
Yeah, and also tie that in with the city of Lithonia.
Yeah.
You know, but which is
Right.
very close by.
Right, but in terms of the recommendations though, that currently exist, assuming that's the framework that's being
You're-
maintained.
It's kind of like, I'll be honest, this group will never get any small anybody right now.
No, not,
And from a standpoint of, you know, what impact,
Mhm.
it's, you know, it's kind of, to be quite honest, you know, when you're building a website, you know, once you have it built, then the work really starts. And so, you know, it's all fine and dandy, but you've got the content, you've got the phones, you've got everything else, wireframe, then you got to build it out.
right, yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. The only point I was about to make, and we do need to go ahead and get ready to wrap up because it's almost that time, is that as I read the plan, and assuming that the flow of the plan stays the same, even with the input that comes in, the gist of the recommendations are around the economic development infrastructure to make it work, as opposed to the industry input that I'm hearing being discussed now. Is my takeaway from the plan.
Well,
Yes, but we'll.
defines the target.
I'm sorry?
It
The
does.
plan defines the target.
The plan assesses industries, but the target industries that the industries that they target
Mhm.
are the ones that they saw as sort of the bigger ones that are in the SI read.
I would say yes, and then at the same time, just offer this for consideration. We were talking about hips and knees earlier, and it came up that AMA is gone. That leaves a huge gap in trauma response, trauma care, and things like that between Grady and who else? So I don't know. Oh, by the way, we have this Fillendale Medical Center over here. So I know that DeKalb County has set some money aside for infrastructure for them, for hiring, for trauma response, for equipment and all of that. Right now, that place is 85 or 90 beds or so. It probably needs to be 2 times that or 3 times that. So they should, as a matter of infrastructure, not just as a matter of industry, definitely they need to be prioritized. I've heard you say it a few times. They absolutely need to be there. We need to be in on that somehow. In training, workforce development, you name it, we need to be there.
But I'm saying though that the plan doesn't speak to all of those. And to your point, the medical industry is missing from the conversation.
Well, it's in the plan.
It's right. It is research information that's been put in, but we haven't had a chance to talk to the medical industry in terms of their input into the plan.
Well, I think that we're kind of losing focus on, you know, your focus was the plan.
Right.
The plan is where it's at. Next phase is just the letter, the report, if you will.
Oh, I understand what we're
You
doing.
know,
but
and so the response should be after the reports back. Excited.
Is it fair to assume your action plan will be built around 6 segments that are identified in the public report?
When I think that in the last meeting that it made a comment that I might deviate from the plan. I will not deviate from the plan. There will be no deviation outside of the plan. The plan is my marching order. If you see an area that was not identified in that plan,
Mhm.
you're fine.
Yeah, no, I don't recall making that. Yeah, yeah, we did that. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying, in your final,
Or even when receiving the draft, if you
Yeah,
see
yeah, I got
something,
what you'll see is the final version.
okay,
Mhm.
Well, and then the next phase is your letter, your report back
Mhm.
to council. And then what happens out of that is I'll take all of that and incorporate that into the work plan.
But that part is understood. What the only point that I was making is we were having industry conversations around the various targeted industries while they spoke to those pieces in the assessment piece, in their set of recommendations, they talked about mainly about the economic development infrastructure to do whatever is needed to be done, as opposed to targeting industry and what you need to do for a specific industry. That's the only point that I'm making.
And that's his action.
Well,
No, I haven't raised this point before. I think something to take into account. When you're talking about targeting industries,
mhm,
the question is, who decides which industries to target? Which industries are desirable?
Mhm.
Which industries are feasible,
Mhm.
given the resources and whatever we have?
right,
I think that's an important question, and all too often what I see is it's a very one-sided conversation.
Right.
Where you have people who, in consultants or whatever, who are not part of the industrial community.
Right.
Who are deciding the targeting.
Right.
Without getting
That-
input
right.
and partnership.
Right.
With the industries that are already there.
right. And that's the gap that I talked about earlier in terms of our engagement in the process was initially designed to capture some of that input from the business community and put it into the process. But we got started late, primarily because of we weren't able to get our committee members to have a quorum. And consequently, the input that we're providing is limited by that factor. And the only point that I'm making in deference to the plan is that the plan doesn't really speak to recommendations around industry. Plan speaks to recommendations primarily around the infrastructure that the city needs in order to go after whatever industry that they will do. But that's, there is a difference, but I'm not saying that our role is to address that. I'm just simply pointing out the fact that we're having a discussion around elements that are not a part of the recommendation. But I think we got our plan for what we're gonna do with our report. We're gonna do a letter. We're gonna wait until we get the consultant's final draft. And then we will have till the end of December to essentially prepare the letter and submit it to mayor and council.
You
Okay.
Send it to me so I can put it into
Okay.
the plan. I think it's meant to count.
I would like to reserve judgment on whether that's only way for it to be transmitted.
I'm not arguing that.
Yeah, well, the
You
resolution
submit it to
itself
mayor and
calls,
council anyway, you know?
right.
I just want it in
He just wants it in advance.
the plan.
Right, or when we get,
Submit
yeah,
for
right.
approval. That's all.
Right, but the resolution itself is, in terms of how we give it to the council, even if it's written and or verbal, is based on the committee and the council agreeing on a date and time. That's what the resolution says. So we give it to Christian, and then we give it to council, and we wait for convening on a date. Okay? Are there any additions or, where do we go? Any questions around the actions that we're taking? We've already said that we're gonna do a letter and we're gonna wait for the report before we actually act on the letter. And if there's nothing else to be added, I'd like a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
been moved and properly second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Opposed, nay. No nays. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I am going to take me a brownie and some ice cream home.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, yeah, dear.